It's pretty late, and I want to get started with a recording that's very important. You know, we always have something in our back pocket. So welcome, and let's get started. 2000 and what is it? What is it? 2015? Is it 2015? Absolutely. So today is day 2015. We've been doing this for over 5.5 years, every day, every day. Since our son was forcibly removed from his barracks room. Okay, so that's a huge breach in security. And he was taken, especially because he was a whistleblower under whistleblower protection. And that was a breach. That was a breach in his security. And he was forcibly taken, witness accounts, and taken to the arms room because it's a soundproof room, and his life was taken from him. His body was then stolen off of Fort Bliss. That's another big security breach. And his body was trafficked to Juárez, Mexico for disposal. Okay. So this was 15 plus agencies, way more than 15 agencies involved, which without an op ord, without any kind of operational order at the beginning. So it was a cover up from the very beginning. And so we're going to talk about that today. But I want you to listen to something that's really important because, you know, if the media was doing their job, if the media wasn't so in the pocket, and I don't know what we can do about this. I really don't know what we can do because the media is really a huge, huge problem that we have. They're not reporting. They're not investigative reporters. They are absolutely in the pocket of people that are up to no good, that are absolutely up to no good. So I want you to listen to this, and we've had this. It's been in our back pocket, and we have released it before. We want to release it again. So let me see if I can get it started here. Make sure everything's on. I want to make sure this is on. Okay. This is Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks was appointed as the district attorney for the 34th Judicial District there in El Paso in December of 2022. 2021. And so right at the very end, December 2021. Am I getting it right? I want to make sure I get it right. And correct me when I'm wrong. Yeah, I have to look because I can't stand it. When was Bill Hicks appointed district attorney for the 34th Judicial District? Okay, December 14th, 2022. Okay, so 2022. I knew I was off a year. And it's late, so please forgive me, but I wanted to get it right. He was appointed December 14th, 2022. That's really important. Yeah. That makes sense because that's when soon after that, in February of 2023, we were targeted for months with intimidation, harassment, threats, everything under his watch. Yeah, he has really bad friends, y'all. He has bad circles, and he's really the bottom of the barrel. And so this is why he's couldn't even win the election. But he was appointed during a recess, and that made it easier for him. There was no scrutiny. Nobody could see the dirt, his dirty laundry. No one could see his dirty laundry. And we have to do something about that too, because they bring in the most rottenest people into very important positions. And the district attorney for El Paso is a very important position because it's a borderland. It's a borderland. And this Jeffrey John of God pipeline was able to operate because of the Mormon faction El Paso cartel, which includes Bill Hicks. And that's why this is so important, because so many children, so many women, so many men, so many families were hurt and destroyed um, because of Bill Hicks. And, you know, the diversion. Yeah, well, let me play the audio recording first. Okay. Let me see. Got it here.
Bitter. This is Bill Hicks. I'm the district attorney in El Paso, Texas. Peggy Venerable gave me your phone number and advised that I should give you a call regarding an issue I have with a individual out of Austin who has gotten the ear of a local media guy and some attorneys here in El Paso regarding the oath of office and sworn statement that I did back in December in order to get sworn in after the governor had appointed me here in El Paso. So I have some questions regarding that, and she said that you would be the number one person I should speak to. Whenever you have a chance, if you could please give me a call back. My cell phone, personal cell, is area code 915-491-0293.
Probably shouldn't have played that, but that's open records. So that's in the open records. That's how we received that phone call. And Bill Hicks. Okay, so what was going on there? When you get appointed as district attorney, you have to follow a protocol to be installed into that office. And one of those protocols is, of course, the oath of office. But before you can sign the oath of office or take the oath of office, you have to sign it, you have to take the oath of office. Before you can do that, the Texas Constitution says you have to do something else. You have to sign something called a statement of officer. So, and this is something you have to do before you take the oath of office. And the statement of officer is an anti-bribe promise, an anti-bribe statement. And what it says, and we've posted it up, is that you haven't taken any bribes to take this office. So, of course, you have to sign the statement of officer, the anti-bribe statement on the anti-bribe line. That's in the song that I made with him. I should bring that up too. Before you take the oath of office. He did not do that. Okay, he did not do that. And then he tampered with documents and handed it in after, months after, because the Secretary of State was emailing him and saying, "Hey, we haven't gotten your statement of officer yet," which really implicates her, right? It implicates her, and that was probably one of the hardest letters we wrote. I mean, there's been so many hard letters that we've written, criminal complaints, and yeah, and it was against her, the Secretary of State, because this was so illegal. The whole thing was so illegal. Because if you turn it in afterwards, it's it nullifies everything, like legally, like in a court. It doesn't mean anything. You have to do it as the Texas Constitution says, or you're messing up the whole legal process. And so he was never installed as the district attorney. Uh, he was never the district attorney, and so when he ran that office, he was really essentially, legally speaking, and I was saying it almost every day for way over a year, um, that he was a usurper. That's the right word for it, a usurper. And we weren't the only ones that saw this, okay? It was discovered before us that he was a usurper, that he did not follow protocol, that he did not follow the Texas Constitution to promise the people that he did not take a bribe. And later on, he says, he did. Um, but that he did not take a bribe and then take the oath. So it all was wrong. Everything was wrong about him. And what that does is it makes him, even though he's a usurper and he's going and taking the office anyway, and we were writing about it and we were filing about it. We filed and filed and filed. And there was only a few of us that cared. And of course, what this does, and I'm sure there would have been a lot more people that cared if the media would have carried it, right? Um, they should have carried it. So there was Reyes Mata. He's the guy that Bill Hicks is talking about from El Paso Inc. that is kind of following up on this story. He didn't report on the Mayellas, he didn't report on the tampering of the Walmart case. Reyes Mata knows all this, okay, from El Paso Inc., the reporter. But he has conflicts of interest. He has conflicts of interest with his wife that was leaking information to him from the Isleta Independent School District. Off, rep, the legal representative for that team for the Isleta school district. So, and here is Bill Hicks that is, you know, saying, "Oh, Reyes Mata and another watchdog from Austin, and we know who he is too, was like a thorn in his side, causing some problems." And he's just calling like, you know, he's going to get some cover, right? Why? Because he's part of the Mormon faction El Paso cartel. Okay? He can act criminally, and the laws don't apply to him. That's what this means. And of course, Montoya is the same way. And that's why we knew that, uh, look, you had a DA that said, we're going to look into, making a trial for the Walmart mass shooting, maybe in the spring or whatever. And she's slapped with a gag order and all this stuff, and of course, forced out and everything. But Bill Hicks and Montoya 2028 stamp, Mr. 2028 stamp, can violate the law, the Constitution, the Texas Constitution, um, and they get coverage. So who are they working for that? Because they're not working for the people, even though they get taxpayer money. Um, they're violating uh, all the security because the anti-bribe statement is a security for the people. The Texas Constitution, it gives security to the people, right? And if it doesn't apply to them, then the people don't have the security, and we have another breach in security. So this is where all the breaches in security come from. And I think it's let me turn this off. That was a little loud. Maybe I should play this one more time without my fan going. I'm going to play it one more time.
That number again, 915-491.
That's his number. Sorry. But it's open record, so.
Bitter. This is Bill Hicks. I'm the district attorney in El Paso, Texas. Peggy Venerable gave me your phone number and advised that I should give you a call regarding an issue I have with a individual out of Austin who has gotten the
watchdog.
I guess the ear of a local media guy and some
Reyes Mata
attorneys
from
here in El Paso regarding the oath of office and sworn statement that I did back in December in order to get sworn in after the governor had appointed me here in El Paso. So I have some questions regarding that, and she said that you would be the number one person I should speak to. Whenever you have a chance, if you could please give me a...
And then he said he signed it in December, and that's not true. That's not true. So, yeah. These are really very criminal people, and he is the protection. He's part of the protection because remember I explained, I showed the map, and I think I have the map here, and I think it's really important. I showed a map of the pipeline. I posted it. Matter of fact, if you do a Google, it comes right up. I guess it has gotten enough shares that it's like the go-to for this pipeline. Even if you speak it in, it's yeah, here's this one. This is good. Okay. So here's the map. And of course, we're here in Fort Bliss. Now this is in El Paso. And Zorro Ranch is just above it, right? And Fort Huachuca this is the triangle here. Because Fort Huachuca is so important and absolutely is like the sister city of Fort Bliss. And this is the pipeline where they can bring things into Mexico. And they're traveling here. This is Cuba. This is Haiti, Dominican Republic. This is Puerto Rico. And then, of course, Little St. James, the Epstein. So you have an Epstein here, Epstein Zorro Ranch. And then you come through here. This is Jeffrey Epstein, the Little St. James. Of course, Venezuela's right here. Caracas is right there. That's the fuel. But we have fuel coming here too. Remember, they were siphoning fuel out of the pipeline here. And of course, this is the Panama Canal. And then down in here is that baby farm. And this is John of God. He has a baby farm, and he requires a lot of young women. And it's not confusing for him what is a woman, okay? It's not confusing for him if you ask him, can a man have a baby? Can a man get pregnant? He will say to you, hell no. He didn't have any need for men down here. He needed a lot of young women, right? A lot of young women, and he had his baby farms, and it was absolutely terrible. If you look up John of God, and Oprah was really working with him a lot and promoting him. And of course, Oprah was up here in the El Paso area. She liked the El Paso area. Um, and she was supporting Beto O'Rourke, right? She was really supporting Beto O'Rourke. And of course, with Veronica Escobar supporting Biden and supporting Kamala Harris, right? With everything she had. I mean, she was all out. So this pipeline, of course, John of God got arrested and everything has come out with that. And so that wasn't very good for Oprah. And I don't think it is going to be good for Oprah. Okay. And I don't think, it's good for John of God. So this is all being revealed here, this pipeline. And of course, we have the Ukrainian part of this pipeline on there because Ukraine was requiring all the dead bodies, right? And what that email revealed, or the article revealed about Ukraine, and requiring all the dead bodies to drain the water out, to do all their sex occult stuff with it, um, that Ukraine flew in the teachers, that were doing it, that were to teach the Ukrainians how to do it from um, from Central America, right? From yeah. So this is this is so evil. I'm sorry, it gives me heebie-jeebies, and I always have to take a pause because so many things go through my mind about what these people, that they need to be held accountable. They absolutely need to be held accountable. Um, and so, what that tells you is that this area here requires dead bodies too. And then, of course, you have right by Fort Bliss again, Plenitude Crematorium in Chihuahua, Juárez, Mexico. Well, Juárez, Chihuahua, Mexico. Um, stockpiling bodies, and of course, cashing in on unidentified migrants, recycling them, selling them off, selling organs, you know, and then they would bring the babies up through here and sell them to elites, sell them probably to Europe too. Um, it was just, we're going to find out. We're going to find out where this pipeline, um, all of the tentacles went to, right? So, and you have to understand that in order to do this, you have to have protection, and you have to have institutional protection. So, of course, we know that Mexico is a narco state, so they were getting protection from Mexico. And then, of course, from El Paso, from the Mormon faction, El Paso cartel made an alliance with the Mexican cartel. We know that, and that's where they were getting protection. They were getting protection, and also they were getting visas. They were getting visas. They still get visas, and driver's license. Uh, they were getting loans from banks. Most of them live in El Paso, the ones that are part of this case, and owners of Plenitude. The Attorney General, Carlos Manuel Salas of the North Zone of Chihuahua, lives in El Paso, has a house, has driver's license, has a car, everything. And they have lots of homes, and Cesar Duarte has like 14 homes in El Paso. So, they were getting access to intelligence, they were getting access to bank accounts, They were getting access to loans. They were getting access to property. They were getting access to licenses and permits. They were getting access. And um, so, y- how did they get that? Well, they're controlling the Mormon faction. El Paso cartel controls the institutions there along the borderland, which include Fort Bliss and Fort Huachuca. Okay, it includes that. And I just posted up. Let's see if I go to the top. I just posted up this too, um, because what it shows is the point that we're trying to make with it is that Fort Huachuca and Fort Bliss are all about mind control, especially Fort Huachuca. That is the asymmetrical, and I'm going to try to do this all by memory. I'm not reading anything, but they are, you know, uh, that's where they train psyops. That's where they train the asymmetric warfare, things that are different. How can you take over a people, a country, a regime change, whatever, without firing a shot, right? How can you do it? Um, and it's all about deception, right? It's about deception. It's about um, distraction. And it's all about grooming. It's all about grooming. And this I'm sorry, but it really seems to me that Erica Kirk is part of this, right? Is absolutely part of this with so many others. And we know that they were training people to pretend to be Christians. That was part of Fort Huachuca. They were pretending, they were training them to be Christians and infiltrate the churches and um, promote whatever the mission was then. Okay. And that makes so much sense because we've been living through it, haven't we? We've been absolutely living through it. And it makes a lot of sense when you go into a church that used to be this beautiful stained glass, uh, choirs, the sacraments were being um, served to the people, everything very controlled because, God is a God of order. So it's very controlled liturgy. I mean, that's my belief. And then years later, you go in there and they've gutted out the church. They've hung black curtains over the windows, these beautiful stained glass windows. They put a stage up, they put a band up, and, you know, uh, they withhold the sacraments. Maybe you'll get them once a year, once a month if you're lucky, then they put restraints on and require all this other stuff for the other sacraments. They don't say a creed, they won't say the you know and you go in and you're like, what happened here? What happened to this church? And I just, and then you have the children being groomed. Then you have a big and I'm talking about all the different denominations. They've gone in, and our denomination has suffered. Um, and I'm just wondering who was infiltrating. Was the CIA? Who was doing this stuff? Because they're up to no good. They're demonic. They want to ruin things. They want to ruin people. They want to put a hypnosis on people, distract people, um, be a diversion, right? Um, create so many problems in your life that you're not paying attention to their crimes that they're doing, right? They want to create so many problems for you that you don't have the energy or the time, or the right to even look their way and see this big pipeline of sex occult, um, baby trafficking, woman trafficking, everything going on and growing. It really is a psyop, and it's like, the family getting so weak that the mothers then have no choice at all. They have to go to work, and then the home is left cold, right? The home is left cold. Um, and the time is then so pressed all the time, so pressed for time that you don't have um, time to volunteer, time to uh, do all the things that it takes to keep a home warm and inviting and servicing other people, right? Hospitality is what I'm talking about. You don't have time for that because you're always working and exhausted and just trying to keep up. So, you know, and other people might have different views and everything, but it's just all been about distraction. People say, oh, it's all about work. No, I think it's all about distraction and deception. And we're constantly being targeted to distract us with something, distract us and target us um, with a lot of deception and doubts. They want to target us with doubts all the time. I can tell you that in these 5.5 years, they were always trying to sow doubt in us about our own son, sow doubt in us about our family, about our friends. And that was to distract us, right? And then, of course, so this whole uh, s- sex selling, sex sells. Um, Erica Kirk was told that sex sells very young. And so her whole life right now is a facade. She's not being honest with herself. It's called epistemological self consciousness. That's to know yourself. I don't think she has that. I think she's been so groomed to be deceptive, to live this it's almost like an AI generated life, right? Except for it's asymmetric warfare generated, it's Fort Huachuca generated, it's CIA generated, right? Um, yeah, it's very clear. It seems like that to me, because nothing makes sense except for that. It is very deceptive, and um, this new drop with this lady that was working for TPUSA, and now she was fired and she comes out and she's talking about it today. Um, that just is jaw dropping because they made $250 million in like 2 months, and they can't keep their employees. They're having to do damage control already, even with all that money. Something is going on. Something is very fishy. So the sex sells is goes badly. It goes badly. And don't forget, in the military, through all of this, we were saying this is some kind of funeral sex cult, right? And then the whole we were alerted that it was this Mormon faction sex cult, because of the bullying that we got, because of um, the messages that we're sending, it painted a picture of a sex occult. I like that term, sex occult. It painted a very grim picture of that. that's what was going on. And then, of course, all of the doggy masks and everything of the officers was being released. And, a lot coming out of Hawaii there, but a lot in El Paso and Fort Huachuca. And then we hear the news, all these arrests being made. Go look it up. Fort Huachuca has a real problem with the worst type of crimes against children. And Fort Bliss has a problem with the worst type of crimes against children. So I think the whole sex thing is a diversion and a distraction. It is not the way life should be. Uh, nope, because it leads to this um, I guess this agreeing to polygamy, this free kind of relationship, we'll have a free kind of relationship, and which leads into this whole polygamy thing. And then next thing you know, children are being targeted and groomed, and the worst type of crimes are being committed against the women and the children. And yeah, it gets very, very ugly very, very quickly. So I don't no, I'm not buying into that at all. No way. Um, so the other news that we have is this court case. Okay. Um, I did do a little bit of a review of Ted Cruz here and uh, everything behind him. The chronological part of Ted Cruz is just amazing, right? Because he knew right away, right? He knew absolutely. And I just reposted his letter that he sent us where he's naming 15 plus agencies. What did they have to say? And people don't understand this, but this is not normal to have the Army CID, the FBI, the DHS, the State Department, the DOJ, the NCIS, the ATF, the Interpol, the NCB, the Texas DPS, the CBP, El Paso PD, El Paso Sheriff, U.S. Marshals, Mexican military, and on, the FAA. I would say the CPS. Um, and on and on. I mean, there's so many that are involved in this case, and that's not normal, y'all. It's extraordinary, and it screams massive cartel, trafficking, terrorism links. It points to a deliberate institutional overkill designed to bury the truth. That's what, absolutely. And you have to understand when we had the meeting, the military were not even in uniform. They were out of uniform. They were in civilian clothes. There was not an op ord. So when you don't have an operational order and the personnel are not in uniform, then there's no rescue mission really and no accountability. This is only about containment. It's only about cover up. Um, and that's what they did to Bill Hicks. They covered up for him. And that's what they were doing to the people that did the worst crime against our son. They were covering for that type of person. Just saying. And Ted Cruz had all of this information. And then, of course, in January of 2022, he received the whistleblower report from Judge Roger Rodriguez that called out the foul play, the leaking, the tampering of files, and that's why we got that May letter with all of that in there. But that's all he did, and October and that's with Nadal Baim. I had to put in Nadal Baim in there. He knew all about Nadal Baim because we filed that. Um, and we've been talking about it for years, right? About Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer that's connected to the cartel, that's connected, father in law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, which is Richard's command. And, saying that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez. Well, where are they then? Did they put them in the Plenitude crematorium? Because that's what our evidence indicates. Um, and then they didn't even tell us, right? They didn't even tell us about Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower complaint. They were just trying to bury everything. And Cruz knew everything, y'all. He knew everything. And so he really is criminal, and I hope he has to walk away with handcuffs. I really do. Um, and here is Nadal Baim when he's going shh, shh, because he was telling the cashier that she cannot say anything. She cannot say anything about Richard's case. And of course, that is Dallas Hart. He is the prime suspect in our son's case. That's Nadal Baim without a mask. That's his brother-in-law. I mean, son-in-law. And then here, of course, is Judge Rodriguez with um, Ted Cruz confronting him in October of 2022, saying, "What the hell are you doing? What's going on? Why aren't you doing anything? You could do a congressional. You can, you know, you can have a press conference. You can do something." But he wasn't. So it's pretty bad. So, and I can go and talk about it for a long time, but I want to make sure that I cover my bases because we have another breaking news. We have a court case. Um, Not our court case, but there is a court case that exists by Roy Davis. Roy Davis, um, a bailiff that was treated very badly for being a whistleblower. And he mentions this is page 7, but on page 8, he mentions Richard. On page 7, he mentions Peter Melendez. That's really important because he was also trying to um, reveal that Montoya was not properly installed. That's that. So this is and if you click on it, you can see the red writing that to highlight where Richard is there talked about. So I hope you really visit that because this is so important to our case. It gives us um, exactly what we need to communicate with the Department of Justice now. And so it gives us a lot of leverage. And we're so grateful to Roy Davis for that. Um, so let me see if there's any comments. Lord, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your prayers. And I think I covered uh, here's the letter from Ted Cruz if you want to read it. I posted that up. Oh, yeah, Mandami. Mandami went, like I mentioned yesterday, he had a press conference, and after reading through it, it's just so sad. He was just doing linguistics, gymnastics, right? It was just word salad. And if you read through it carefully, you'll see exactly what I mean because he really doesn't deny his family relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. He doesn't deny it. He just calls it incredibly difficult. Um, and he'll sound like he's saying something about it, but it is really the best example of asymmetric warfare or mind control tactics. It is just, it's just a work of art. What his little press conference yesterday, but he never came out and said, you know, I denounce Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with him. And I mean, Jeffrey Epstein's not even alive anymore. People are talking that he's alive, and well, I don't know. I don't know. Um, it's when with our crazy breaches of security, I can see that that could happen because we have so many breaches of security and so many breaches of oaths of office, so many breaches of oaths of office. Um, it's clear that things like this could happen. So we're appreciative for all of your sharing and for everything that you're doing. Um, Spreading the word just by talking uh, to your friends about us because it really is having an impact. It's giving us a lot of leverage, and we have people reaching out to us that we've needed to speak to for a long time, and they're finally getting back to us. So, and I think it's because, well, I know it's because of you. It's because of you and all of our hard work. So, thank you so much. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.